Trash talk again because it's Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, and
Yeah.
we got lots of comments like during the week after the last show because we're not having a good day, and all of a sudden at the end of the show, I was asking Brandon just random questions, and I had a really good closing random question, and all of a sudden his internet just dropped out and he just dropped out, and I'm sitting on the screen ready to ask a question and there's nobody there to answer.
Oh my gosh, it was awful. Like all of a sudden, like I saw the glitch in the matrix happening, and I was like, well, we'll get through this. It's wrapping up the show, and I saw my face, my still shot,
Yeah.
and I knew the internet was done. And I was like, man, I hope he just ended the show. I hope he just ended the show because I don't want to do it over again. I'm not doing it over.
And frankly, I haven't learned how to edit it. So if I wanted to go back and edit it, but I figured, it was just a stupid way to end the show, and all of a sudden the board lights up and people are sending in comments saying that was so cool the way you ended your show, like we did it on purpose.
I don't know. I don't even think I know what the question was.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll just have to screw up again more often and get positive comments.
Apparently I'll screw up today. Don't worry about it.
It's coming, folks. Stay tuned. But hey, my little background is a diner, and yours is a bar you got back there.
My favorite restaurant of all time, actually,
Yeah.
Giovanni's in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
My favorite restaurant of all time, one of the greatest Italian restaurants to go down in history, Giovanni's. Many a dates there, many a solo nights there, many a guys trips there. I mean, when you get to sit in the chair that Frank Sinatra sat in, you just feel that presence,
Now there's Giovanni's Pizzerias all over the country, which is a franchise. Yeah. No relation at all to this Giovanni.
No, this Giovanni's, they moved to the neighborhood, and it was Irish, Italian, Polish, great neighborhood. Now the neighborhood's not great. They're the only great thing in that neighborhood. And there's actually an Italian party store. It's pretty cool. They make great sandwiches, but that's about it. No relation. They moved there. They started the restaurant back in the 60s, and it was a pizza parlor with Italian dishes. They kind of made whatever. They had specials. So it was spaghetti and meatballs that day. She'd make spaghetti and meatballs. Yeah. Then it turned to Giovanni's. And I got to tell you, I mean, it's a fine dining, but what's great about it is it's old school Italian. She walks around there. The mom, the wife, her sons, her grandkids are there. You can just go and hang out and have a glass of wine with her and just talk to her. It's like, it reminds me of being at my grandma's house, talking to my grandma, except it's in a restaurant. Like oh my God. The last time I went was probably about 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Even though I've been to Michigan since, I think the next time I go back to Michigan, I'm making a trip.
So the original restaurant is still there?
Yeah, it caught on fire, actually. It caught on fire. The kitchen, they had a kitchen fire. They thought they were going to move, but they spent so much money because they did not want to leave that neighborhood. And people drive there to the original restaurant. It's beautiful. That bar behind me, if you guys can't see it, again, this is why you should watch. All around the bar, that was carved and designed over in Italy and flew up. Yeah, it was flown over here. It's the Stations of the Cross. If you're Catholic, you get what that meant, but it's the Stations of the Cross. And it was designed at this little shop in Italy. She went there and loved the woodwork they did and commissioned this guy and his family to design this bar.
And are there still Giovanni family members they're still running it?
Yeah, her sons are running it. She's running it, but her husband died, but her sons are there. The family's there. The grandchildren come in. They got a wall of celebrities there. Actually, George Clooney, he says whenever he's in Michigan,
really?
he goes there. Yeah, and there's multiple pictures of George Clooney at different stages, just there. Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, all the who's are there. It's a phenomenon. So you could literally walk in and sit there. We went one day and half of the Detroit Red Wings were eating in the other room, just hanging out. It was great. It's awesome.
And I grew up in the Chicago area, and there were actually, there still are quite a few of the old steakhouses and everything that are still there. But I grew up in Northwest Indiana, right actually where Illinois and Indiana meet at Lake Michigan in Whiting, Indiana, was a restaurant called Phil Schmidt's. And it was the Schmidt family, and Phil was actually the grandfather, and probably passed down through maybe 3 or 4 generations. And they were famous for buttered frog legs and frog legs. Yeah. Never had frog legs?
No, I can't say I have.
Tastes just like chicken.
I'm sure it does. They said Jeffrey Dahmer said that about humans. Doesn't mean I want to eat one.
That, and also Perch and Pike. And It was one of those old restaurants where they had the tablecloths. The waiters and waitresses were all dressed in close to formal attire.
Yes.
They would, on the table, they would put the fresh beets and the cottage cheese and the bean salad and stuff like that, and the fresh baked rolls. I mean, It was, that kind of tradition stuff. And it went through some tough times and all. I think they also had a kitchen fire back in probably the 60s or 70s. But as the neighborhood kind of changed and went away, the Phil Schmidt family, those grandsons or whatever, decided to donate the restaurant to a local college with the proviso that they would have a culinary arts program at the college.
That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And that way they would train young chefs and all to not only come back to Phil Schmidt's and work, but like as interns, but would launch their career in the culinary arts. And it was pretty cool. And they did that for many, many years until the building just got in such disrepair and all, that it was only a matter of, probably within the last 5 years that they tore the building down and all, after some, almost 100 years that it was there. And now where I grew up, there's still one restaurant called Teeble's that is also being run by the Teeble family and the second, third, fourth generation. And they were famous also for their perch and also their fried chicken.
Interesting, man. When you see a restaurant, that's what separates these places compared to the corporate cookie cutter,
right? Franchise.
Yeah, they're so unique and there's such a rich history. Another place back home too is called Tony's, and Tony's is essentially like a truck stop. I mean, that's what it is. But it's a diner, but everybody goes there. It's on the way to like Frankenmuth and all that.
Right. Okay.
Christmas City and all that. So you go to Tony's and they got the pancakes that are the size of your head. They give you a pound of bacon for the pancakes. If you want butter, they give you a whole stick of butter. There you go. And I mean, everybody goes there. You want hash browns? That's a whole bowl of hash browns coming your way. And there's something, I mean, it's really good, but nobody makes that stuff like those type of places.
Yeah. And very often when we travel around the country, when we pull in for the night, you just go to the CVS, or Walgreens or whatever, and just ask the clerk, where's a good family owned restaurant in town to eat? And there usually is at least one or two.
Gotta be one, right?
It's like old home week. You go in and you're treated like a real customer instead of they're there to just turn the tables. Order number 403, come over and pick it up and go eat, hurry up and get out of here. You have to look for those places. But I think that it's those old established restaurants and the diners, which are also unique in their own way, that are really worth seeking out.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Interesting story. You know, we all know what the classic looks like, a Airstream trailer type diners. There was one in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And the owner moved to Florida, and he just decided that he really missed his diner back in Wilkes-Barre. So he made arrangements to have the diner in Wilkes-Barre put on a transport and taken down. And that actual diner from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, is now called the 11th Street Diner, and it's on 11th Street and Collins Avenue in Miami Beach.
What?
The original diner from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's still there, still up and running, and it's still, you know, the old mushroom stools at the bar, and the old red top tables with the metal trim. You know, that the one that right there behind me, that's the old mushroom stools. You know, which as a kid you used to go into, and it was a lot of fun to sit on them and just twirl around. But there was never anything like diner food. You know, I mean, you're talking about the old, you know, burgers on the grill. You know,
Well, they were just fried. They were just you could smell them when you walked in. The sandwiches, the coffee. It might just be a black cup of coffee, but it's always fresh and always there.
It was a gastronomical, you know, disgrace. I mean, they didn't use margarine or butter. They used lard.
Lard, yeah.
You remember lard to fry the eggs? And,
yeah, but it's the best.
Yeah, they make the bacon and they put the lard down. They make the eggs and they would mix all of that together and all. And when it came on your plate, you know, and the fresh biscuits, it's hard to find places like that anymore.
My favorite diner times are either early in the morning or late at night. Those are when I go to a diner. I don't care about the middle of the day. We used to go to Broken Bow, Oklahoma quite a bit. And there was a diner there that just like you're describing, and it went out of business one day. Like we went up there and it was closed and totally depressing. But then we went back again and somebody had bought it and redid it the same way. And I got to tell you, their Reuben sandwich, their Philly, their breakfast, top notch. Literally looked exactly like that place behind you. Just you're not going to beat that type of food. And even with all the inflation, the prices are still really good for what it is.
My father-in-law was a traveling salesman all over the Midwest, and he used to seek out, you know, two things. He used to seek out diners wherever there was one, or truck stops, because diners and truck stops, you could go in and everything wasn't a la carte. You would order a fried chicken, you know, dinner. It came with the vegetables. It came with a salad. It came with dessert. It came with a drink and all. And then the waitress would hand you a ticket for like $5.50. You know, it was always good food. My father-in-law always used to say, if you really want to find a place that's got really good food, look for 18-wheelers in the parking lot.
Ask them. They know where it is. They know how late they're open. They know all that.
And they know the prices are good, and the quantity of food is also excellent.
That's like when we were just talking about Greenville, and Luke and I, we stopped at that diner. We go to that diner whenever we pass through Greenville. We go to this little diner. She's been there since like the early 60s. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is phenomenal. I'll take it plus I like to support her. She sits, she talks to you, you know, I want to support her too, but the food is great. And Luke loves it. He's just eating his fries and just dipping it. I mean, it's just great stuff, man.
And kind of the modern offshoot of the diners today seems to be the food trucks. People are starting to get the food trucks, whether it's just you know, tacos, or whether it's beef sandwiches or hot dogs or whatever. The smaller mobile trucks always turn out a really good meal.
Well, some of the best food around us, and I know there's some great restaurants, there are, but some of the best food is the food trucks. I mean, top notch. Like you can go to the truck yard in the Colony down the street, and I know this is across the country. You guys got them. You guys got food trucks that just pop up somewhere, or they just have their little destinations. Ton of them in Dallas. There's great place in Denton for food trucks. I mean, that's the best food. I mean, it's unique. And what's cool about it is if you go to the tacos and you get the street tacos, then let's say maybe you want to go over here and you want to get a burger. Like there's so many options and they all have something special.
Yeah, in our town, we've got a thing called the rail yard. And it's like 5 or 6 different food trucks. They've even got a little stage where they get a little 3-piece band or something that'll entertain. Everything's on picnic tables, paper plates, and plastic forks, knives, and spoons. And I mean, it's a good throwback to Americana at its best.
Yeah, I prefer a lot of that, like 8 times out of 10 when I think about going out to spend my money at a restaurant, unless I'm going to Giovanni's or something special.
Right.
I want to go to that food truck or I want to go to a diner and give it to those people.
Have you ever thought about having a diner or a food truck?
No, I don't want to do any of that. No. I've washed my hands with the restaurant industry forever.
It ain't on your bucket list anymore.
It's not. No. At one point, yeah, I would have owned a bar. It almost happened a couple of times. No, I'm good. I'm good.
I always enjoyed them, but I never really thought I had the talent. I mean, if somebody was to come along and say, "Listen, I've been a hash cook for my whole career and everything, and I'm thinking about opening up a diner. And I'm looking for some investors." Might go that route and all, but I just don't have the talent for doing it.
Can I run it? Can I market it? Can I work with the people? Sure.
Yeah.
Especially if it involves bar way more than food, but there are people smarter than me that have done it longer than I ever have that still struggle. I'm retired from that. I'm retired.
And by far the best ones that are out there are the ones that are still run by the second, third, fourth generation of the family that started them.
You have to do that because the one thing I've always said about this industry, and really any industry, it's a people industry. And if you don't understand, you can look at numbers and marketing all day long, but if you don't understand people, you'll fail. So the best way to do that is to have that generational, hand me down, or, not hand me down, but they understand and have that passion for the business. It's a grueling industry.
Yeah. And when was the last time you went to one of those places and the owner had a little bit of a break in the action and comes out of the kitchen, comes over to the table and says, "How was everything? Was there anything that I could fix for you?" Or listen, I just baked a cake today and everything, and I got a few slices left. How about a complimentary slice of cake?
That's what happens at Giovanni's. I've drank wine with her, or she'll walk by and be like, "Hey, we got this special." And I know, look, there's 2 things. 1, she wants you to try her food. 2, She hopefully wants you to buy it. But 3, I mean, she's literally taken when we've sat there and paid our tab and wrapped up for the night and we're just finishing our cocktails. She's come over and been like, "Hey, take this home." Like here, and here at midnight eating God knows what, and it's delicious. You don't get that at your corporate places. You just don't.
That's right. So, between restaurants, diners, and food trucks, which is your favorite?
I'd probably lean more towards.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough. I'm gonna slide the restaurants over. They're not in the conversation. I would say, I want to say diners, but because they're hard to find. I mean, even though they're all across the country, they're just hard to find on a daily basis. I'll have to go with food trucks.
Yeah. And frankly, food trucks are like mini diners today.
They are. Yeah, for sure. Sure.
But if you travel on the highways and byways of the country and all, it's worth it. Just take out your iPad and just Google, diners near me. and all. And you'd be surprised that there still are quite a few of them around the country.
Oh, there's tons of them. Oh, no, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like right now, if I'm like, man, I want to go to a diner, I know I can find one, but I got to drive a little. I'm not going to, there's some like little mom and pop shops, like, in Denton or in Plano or McKinney. Those are
Right.
great. But I mean, if I want a diner, like Luke and I, like I said, which usually when we travel, we go down to camp or we head down towards Austin, we'll hit some diners on the road.
Yeah. And generally my favorite time to go is for breakfast.
Yeah.
Because you usually get a really great like farm breakfast, a complete breakfast and all a reasonable price. I mean, look, IHOP made their whole career out of doing stuff like that and all, but it just doesn't taste the same as that little, when you're sitting at the counter and you're watching the cook actually preparing the food right there in front of you.
Well, that's like back in the day when Dennys
Yeah.
was basically a corporate diner, and they really for the longest time nailed it. They nailed it. And then now if you find a Dennys, you don't even want to go,
Yeah. In fact, the last time I went to a Dennys wasn't for a meal. It was just to pick up a pie.
Oh yeah, they did that.
Yeah, because they used to, make their pies, and not only could you just order a slice of pie to eat, but you could go take a whole pie if you wanted to take home and serve to the family.
Last Denny's I went to was on our way to Texas, moving here, and actually we had just moved here, but the place wasn't ready yet, and we needed time to kill. So me and my buddy went to Denny's. And it was not a fun experience, man. It was not from back in the day like I remember. That's for sure.
Well, because a lot of those restaurants that ended up franchising and everything, what they did was they started cutting corners. Instead of taking those potatoes and peeling them and slicing them and making the French fries fresh, they found a way to import them, flash frozen and all and do it that way. So they found a way to make it more profitable, but it was at the cost of the quality of the food.
Yeah. And it's not the same. And because I used to go to Denny's on a regular basis, we get out of the bars, either drinking or working, and we would always pass a Denny's. Or when I was doing the clubs in Detroit, we'd get out of the club at like 4 a.m. and go hit a diner that'd be open. There's so many diners down there and just go hang out. Now it's obviously I'm usually not up, or I'm just getting up at 4 a.m. But,
Well, Dennys was one of the few places that was open 24 hours too, for a long time.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll tell you, I've worked up an appetite. So I'm thinking maybe what we ought to do is how about if we go over to Greenville and drop into to the diner over there and have some breakfast?
Only an hour away. Let's roll.
Yeah, it works for me. We'll pick up some coffee over at Summer Moon and do a cup of coffee on the way over to Greenville.
I love that diner. I do.
Works. All right, you be back here again at 8:00 next week, and we'll talk some more trash with you. All right.
Yes.
Go on, make it a good one.